talk about the Honorary Oscars. They chose the recipients of this year's Honorary Oscars. And I could have sworn, Jerry, that we had interviewed Charles Burnett because I remember doing an interview segment on Killer of Sheep. And I kept looking for it, and it's nowhere.
Yeah, I thought Aaron had something to do with that. I mean, I could have sworn.
Yeah. I can't find it. Maybe I didn't tag it correctly or something, but it's not even in our archive listing, so that's odd. But anyway, he's getting an honorary Oscar.
Yeah, go ahead.
As is Owen Roisman, the DP, who also Aaron has a history with Owen Roisman. That's it. Do you know that history, Dean? Well, he interviewed Owen Roisman and about the French Connection. There was this big restoration of the French Connection on Blu-ray that came out.
Yes, I remember that now.
Yeah, and he talked about how it didn't look good, and Owen Roisman said, well, I don't have a Blu-ray player. And so he went out and bought a Blu-ray player and then got the Blu-ray and then brought in William Friedkin and was like, they both agreed, man, this looks like shit. They did something wrong in the pressing. So they repressed it, all because of Aaron, which was
wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we all can have an effect on how movies are going. So that's great. Well,
also, can I finish? Who got the honorary Oscar? Hang on. Or who's getting it? Donald Sutherland, who has been consistently bandied about his name, alongside people like Harrison Ford and other actors that have never received an acting Oscar, and Agnes Varda. They're getting it in,
cool.
When does this happen? November 11th.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go with Owen Roisman first. Okay, I predicted, I was, back in 2012 on Filmability, I did a couple of, I did some articles. I think I did one in 2011 and 2012 and kind of, sort of posited, about a total of probably about 25 people that I think should get honorary Oscars. Out of those 25 people, including people like, out of those 25 people, about 11 of them eventually did win honorary Oscars. Lauren Bacall, Roger Corman, and so on and so Jean-Luc Godard. Owen Roisman was one of those that I picked. So that's the one that they picked for this year. That sort of, but, you look at Owen Roisman's past, okay, so he's been nominated for an Oscar 5 times for French Connection, The Exorcist, Network, Tootsie, and Wyatt Earp. That's a pretty great 5 movies right there. But you look on top of that, movies like Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, or 3 Days of the Condor, Straight Time, Electric Horseman, which is not a great movie, but I love the photography of it. True Confessions, Taps, The Heartbreak Kid, Play It Again, Sam, Havana, which is also another beautiful-looking movie, and Grand Canyon. And The Addams Family, even. Wow. That's a fucking astounding career. Sorry, but it is. So, long overdue. And now, of course, Donald Sutherland. Donald Sutherland, how has he gotten through without getting at least one supporting actor nomination or something? Day of the Locust, of course, Ordinary People, which I think, with Ordinary People, I think everybody was confused. Like, is he the lead? Is he the supporting? Well, the lead was Timothy Hutton. He was the lead, but they put him in supporting. So, So that screwed everything up for Sutherland there. But things like Backdraft, which he was a highlight of something like that, or some of his leads like Don't Look Now, or Eye of the Needle.
That's a good. Eye of the Needle. That's a good one. I would have thought maybe that. I mean,
yeah.
There are a lot of great performances there. I mean, there are a lot of great performances in that resume. So I mean,
he's I'm glad that they've finally done something to recognize him. And then to get to Charles Burnett and Agnes Varda, I mean, they're both people who changed cinema. They just are. And just for that alone, even if you haven't seen the movies, you've certainly felt the effects of their movies on other films, and particularly with Burnett and black cinema, I think that he along with Spike Lee and I guess Van Peebles and the Hughes brothers, he changed, and Gordon Parks. He changed it's funny. One of our fans of the show is Chris Carr, and he and I have been talking. And Chris is a black man who's extremely devoted to movies, and he called me the other day. He said he was very depressed about black portrayals in cinema, and he's not saying that in terms of what he was. I think he was depressed about was the fact that a lot of black viewers have who watch movies primarily with black people. He himself said, most of my black friends only watch movies with black people in them, in the leads. And what I think he was depressed about was the fact that because of that, a lot of black viewers have not been exposed to great cinema. They, there might be some action movies out there or some comedies or, little dramas and stuff like that. But generally they haven't been exposed to something as ground-shaking as something like Killer of Sheep. I had to sort of talk him out of it and say, well, the power is still in your hands as a filmmaker. You can make these movies. I mean, and we had a very, very earnest discussion about why aren't there more black movies about, that are not centered in on crime, that are not centered in on racial divides, but are just dramas or even comedies with black characters in them that are really talking about interpersonal relationships. And so, I mean, we had a really, really great discussion, and I treasure to call him a friend and also a fan of the show. Charles Burnett is a great choice, and we forget, he didn't do just Killer of Sheep, but also To Sleep with Anger, and I really like The Glass Shield. Yeah,
The Glass Shield is good. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And that was a wide release. The Glass Shield was a wide release at the time.
Yeah. I saw it at a drive-in actually. So. And Agnes Varda, if I'm talking about her less, it's because I've seen fewer of her movies. But she signifies the very beginning of the French New Wave, and if you don't have the French New Wave, then you probably don't have the movies of the 70s.
Mhm.
So I have to say that a lot of the stuff that she's done except for Cleo 5 to 7, the early stuff I haven't seen. I have seen that, and that's great. And I've seen her later documentaries, which are also great, Gleaners and I, and especially Beaches of Agnes, which is kind of a masterpiece. But so I'm more familiar with her later career than her earlier career. But she's absolutely a game changer. So, and she's been in the discussion quite a long time for this. So it's great. I think they made really great choices.
And for all those people that say, I know there's somebody on RogerEbert.com that I like very much, and he says, "Oh, good choices for this year's Honorary Oscars. Too bad we won't be able to see them." All these people that opine about wanting them back on the Oscar telecast, I prefer the way they're doing it now, and you are able to see them. They put the clips on YouTube of some of the presentations and the speeches, and they're given as long as they want to accept it.
Right,
and
which is great.
As are the people that are honoring them. That's the way you pay tribute to someone. You can't just squeeze them in between 5-minute commercial breaks,
Yeah, rush them out and rush them off, or whatever, This way they're able to give 4 a year as opposed to 2 or 1. They used to only give 1 because I only had time for 1 on the show or whatever. Now they're able to give 4 a year, and sometimes even a Thalberg and a Herschop award too. So I'm for it. Now, one thing that I would say is it'd be great to see the whole thing like from beginning to end. If they would just post the whole thing from beginning to end, like very, very, or post it or televise it. If they could, get to TNT or something to televise it, I think that would be a great thing. Although I'm very appreciative of seeing the clips, and they're often very long clips. But I just like to see the whole thing from beginning to end. With the post
I tell you, I still go to when Steve Martin got his honorary Oscar, and Martin Short presented it to him. I still go back to that Martin Short speech. It is the funniest damn thing. He spends like 8 minutes lampooning Steve Martin. It's just one zinger after another. Martin Short is so funny.